There is a lot of variation with the signature of Johan Cruyff, famous Dutch international, um, great player with Ajax and with Barcelona. He signed a lot during his career as a player, as a coach, and then as an executive as well. And here we see the variation of his signature. These are all real signatures. There are no fakes here. So you can see how he signed, and there's big variation between the J's, just as an example. Look how he signed the J. Look at uh, just look at the C and the R and the Y specifically, how the Y wraps around and comes back, and on some of them it doesn't. Some of the earlier signatures, it's a little bit more. The signature is a little bit more contained. The signatures that came later were a little bit more vertical, a little bit more stretched, as we can see to the right. So that's something to keep in mind, that some players their signature will vary um, throughout their career. Uh, and most of our signatures as well, they will change. They won't change that much, but they will change. So you have to keep this in mind. A player later in their career, certainly when their career is over and when they get much older, their signature can get a little shaky, especially when they get up there in age. So something to think about and something to look out for as well. Now I could probably do 100 slides on just examples of signatures, just to go over what each, and I might do that at some point, um, just to torture people. But I, there are so many signatures in the world of football, more than in any other sport. There are more players, and if you're going to be a serious collector, if you are going to consider collecting autographs, deal in autographs. If you want to sell autographs, you really need to be an expert on what is out there as fakes start to flood the market. And I think we will see more and more fakes. So you need to be very, very careful. Here we see an example of a signature from Zinedine Zidane on his France shirt when they won the 1998 World Cup. You can see a signature to the right of that of Roberto Baggio. He has a very distinct signature. Again, how to forge something like that, you have to be exceptionally good. But again, I think we will start to see more of these. To the right, we see one of Paolo Maldini in silver when they won the European Cup, when he won the European Cup with AC Milan. So just familiarize yourself with these. It's very easy to go online and just Google what someone's signature looks like. And you can also Google a fake, and a fake will probably pop up as well. And if you're not sure and you want to sell this item, get it authenticated. The proof of authentication, the COA, is really very valuable. It's gold. And trying to sell a signature of a match-worn item without any kind of COA, if you're asking for $1,000 or even $500 for it, you're going to have a hard time selling it. I would not buy something from someone just by their word alone. I would like to see a COA. And when we mean COA, we don't mean a statement from the owner saying, hey, I got it signed. Here's a picture of me with the guy signing it. Don't rely on pictures. Don't rely on pictures of the players signing that shirt. These players sign hundreds, in some cases thousands of shirts. It's very easy to pull a picture off the internet and say, hey, he's signing the same shirt that I'm selling. That's no good. Get a COA from an authenticator, someone who is an organization that is professional in doing that. I mentioned these earlier. James Spence, based out of New Jersey, is very good. PSA, DNA are very good. I mentioned Brian Cathanis from National Appraisal Consultants. He's an autograph expert. He can certainly point you in the right direction if you need more information. But go to the experts to get the information to know if you should proceed with an authentication. And if you do get it authenticated, make sure you get it done by the right people. Here's a fake. Here's a fake that I signed, just to show you, just for this particular presentation. Um, and you say, well, is it easy to do? Yeah, it depends on the type of signature. If it's a simple signature like this, Pele, and the signatures are there's some value behind it. Yeah, it's going to be copied, and Pele's signatures are copied more than any other signatures in the world of football. So how can we spot the fake? Well, we look at, like, as I mentioned, we look at the original. And I'm going to show you an example just on my phone. It's very easy to do. Just Google it. And here, if you Google it, you can see the difference. This is if I can find it here. There's an example of what Pele's signature really looks like. And you can see the difference between the two of them. For one thing, if you look at the P, and you look at where on the left-hand side on the real example that I'm showing on the right-hand corner down here, it starts on the left-hand side, and then it ends up over to the right inside that circle. Well, mine starts out on the right-hand side. You can see also that the P, that lone line in the P, it's much more distinct than my example here. There's also much more weight in his signature than this particular signature that I signed. It's lighter. Obviously, that's the pen, but Pele holds the pen down and signs with strength, with assuredness that I didn't sign this with. And that's something that you need to keep in mind, is that a lot of times fakes, they are obvious because the person signing is unsure and they want to get it just right, so they're tracing. And when you trace, you take your time, you kind of go over it, and then there's stops. There are actually dots within that line of where you're stopping to make sure you get it right. And it's amazing. You would think that some of these people wouldn't even bother because it's so obvious. So some obvious ones get out there, and then there are others that are more sophisticated. As I mentioned, there are some people who are faking signatures with 3D technology, and they're producing a lot of them on shirts and in pictures. And if you have the technology and you want to produce a lot that are out there, it's concerning because this could be done on a very large scale. And so what does it do to a signature? Well, if there are a number of fakes out there, there are some. It's not just the person who buys this who will get ripped off. Of course, that's terrible. If you pay $200 for a signature and it's a fake, you get ripped off. But it also has a ripple effect within the market. For one thing, if there are enough fakes that are out there, if there are a few very rare examples that come out and it's determined to be a fake, people start questioning whether or not they have a real item, even though it's authenticated. So everyone kind of goes back and look. So the value comes up a little bit. But if there are a lot of fakes over a period of time, it has a potential to make collectors wary of that particular signature. And so the value will actually drop because the demand will not be as great. These things are cyclical, and we're dealing with markets, just like the stock market. There's not a lot of logic behind how these things fluctuate and how the demand changes, and how collectors, like investors, get skittish if something happens. So something to keep in mind when you're looking at a signature is that a signature is something that can be it can be forged in a much more sophisticated manner maybe than a shirt. If someone wants to fake a shirt or produce a fake shirt, they usually won't go to the lengths to make sure that the stitching is just right. It will take too much time. Signature, you can work on it. You can work on it. It's just a signature. So if you have a signed item, if you are a collector or a dealer or a property owner and you want to have these items, to make sure that these items are authentic, go to an authenticator. Someone like James Spence in New Jersey, PSA DNA. I mean, you can go to an expert, someone like Brian Cathanis at National Appraisal Consultants, and he has a lot of experience, evaluating and looking at inspecting signatures, historical signatures by people like Lincoln and FDR, when you're dealing with very, very high values. So he has a lot of knowledge. You need to go to people who are experienced, not just somebody who deals with this occasionally. Every signature is different. I could probably put a 100-page slide out with just examples of signatures, especially with football. They're so different. So keep these things in mind. Take a look at those authenticators if you have a signature and you want to get it authenticated. If you want an item appraised that has a signature on it, I will certainly appraise the item for you, but it's very wise to have a certificate of authenticity with the item. That will certainly help the value. And if you're looking to sell, some buyers, they won't even look at an item with a signature unless it has a real COA, not just a statement from the owner saying, hey, I deal with all this stuff. Even if that particular owner has a very high rating on eBay or any other selling website. A high rating does not guarantee that every item they sell is going to be in good shape, that every item they sell is going to be authentic. So just keep that in mind. If you were getting ripped off with a phony signature, with a bogus signature, you're not going to know half the time if you're not, unless you get it authenticated. So I encourage everyone to do that. Do your due diligence. Get your signatures authenticated, especially if the item has significant value.